Got Your Back Podstream is brought to you by Kinprint. For all your company's promotional needs, they do it all. Apparel, promotional products using the highest quality brands. They do logo design, signage, and printing. Kinprint will promote your brand with excellence. Visit kinprint.ca. All right, happy Friday night to you. Welcome to Got Your Back. YEG, Rishaug, and Strudwick tonight. Oilers down in Calgary for another of their 17 exhibition games. 2-1 overtime win against the Calgary Flames. Struds and I will dig into who stood out, who looked good, some of the battles that are happening. Going to talk a little Ryan Nugent-Hopkins tonight as well. Had a chat with him today. Some interesting comments that he made. Struddy's World. Gem of the day, ask us anything. All of the segments you're coming to know and love here on the podcast are set to go. Got Your Back brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC. Proud title sponsors. It's the big, beautiful dealership just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. By the way, when you go in there, mention that Got Your Back sent you. If you end up buying a vehicle, you'll enjoy 2 years of complimentary oil changes, and as an added bonus, 3 free ultimate detail packages. So mention that Got Your Back sent you if you go into Sherwood Buick GMC. Go see Phil and the crew, or online at sherwoodbuickgmc.com. They actually have stock, and they make the sales process super easy. So go check them out. Tell them that Got Your Back sent you. We're coming to you from the Long Shot Studio here in Sherwood Park. All game days, all day happy hour specials, $5 Long Shots Lager. Checking in with Struds. What's going on, Struddy? You know, preseason Friday night podcast. I feel like the boss was being a bit of a jerk on that one.
You know what? It's perfect. I had my big night out last night. I took my wife out. Lance Romance was busy at a local theater. So
Lance Romance?
That's what I call myself when I take my wife on a date. It was a double date, and we had a great time. So I was, tonight I'm like, hey, let's get down to business. Watch the Oilers game, and I enjoyed this one. So I can't say about every preseason game.
Yeah. I thought they were scrappy. They put up a pretty good fight. We'll break it all down here coming up. But let's just circle back real quick on this Lance Romance thing. So, do you refer to yourself as that in the third person to your wife at any point on your date night?
No,
because Zuby, I mean, the level of red card that would be, we can't even express strong enough.
I love it. I think it's fabulous.
No, Lance Romance. And actually, I tried something last night. This is getting really off topic, but it was what's it called, tequila drink, like with some kind of passion fruit tequila drink that had a rim with a lot of salt on it. It was like very spicy. Actually, I really liked it. I've never had one before.
Really?
I'm gonna try something different. And so it was good. I'm not sure. I don't remember the name of it, but it was good. I'm trying to change it up, have more cocktails rather than just a beer.
Yeah. Did it put Lance Romance in the mood? Hey, did it get you greased up nicely there, buddy?
It's too late. Those shows, like we went and saw that show at the Jube, Ain't Too Proud to Beg or something or whatever. Ain't Too Proud, whatever. 8 o'clock start time. So Uncle Struddy or Lance Romance.
Okay, see, that's the thing. You turned from Lance Romance into Uncle Struddy at 9:45 p.m., didn't you?
It's late. Now, if that show was at 8 a.m., we might have something to report back on.
Would have been a hell of a lunch hour, hey, Zuby?
Lance Romance didn't fall asleep in the chair or anything at the show?
No. I feel I'm one of the younger people in the crowd, and I'm like mid-journey on my life. So, I think that tells you there's a few sleepers out there for sure.
Lance Romance.
I'm not there yet.
I was going to say after the last podcast too, like you're kind of getting to an age now where even like referring to yourself as Uncle Struddy, it's a little bit creepy. I don't know if everyone else out there feels like it. There's a certain age there where you're probably going to have to knock that off, but Uncle Struddy.
I think that's what makes it funny, though, right? I think that's like it's it's kind of funny. It is a little bit creepy, but it is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like the difference when I'm talking to my stepdaughters.
Yeah,
I'll refer to myself as stepdad, and just sort of in the third person, jokingly. And then once I said stepdaddy, and it was like, nope, it was a hard stop on that immediately.
Yeah, I'd agree. That is creepy.
Uncle Struddy, I'm not sure.
Show yourself out after that. Yeah, that's
goodbye. I'll make a Rob Brown-like exit. How about him on the podcast the other night? Disappearing.
That was fabulous. I watched it. I was when I got home from hockey, I watched, and I had a good laugh. At that, and it worked nicely into the promo too. That was a fabulous promo.
Yeah, so good.
Funny
so
stuff.
Good. Speaking of promos, we do have Struddy's World coming up. Struds, I don't want you to give it away, but what can people look forward to in their Struddy's World segment tonight?
It's going to be the very complicated relationship between peanut butter, bagels, and drive-thrus. Very complicated relationship between them.
Okay, so you're going hard hitting here in exhibition season. Well, stick around for that, folks.
I won't be the only person. There'll be others that are in the same challenged area that I am. So I look forward to
I look forward to that too. Our stream numbers just got cut in half. Half of the people just left when you said that. We are streaming on Twitter and on YouTube tonight. You can leave comments here on our YouTube chat, so feel free to hop in, and Zuby will gather the comments. We'll go through them a little bit as we go along here. I got to acknowledge right away a pretty good chirp from JL. He says to me, "What a shot storm on Twitter today, Ryan?"
Oh my God.
So for those of you who don't know exactly what he's referring to, I tried to send a tweet today that said shots fired, where Jason Strudwick used the line that Rob Brown makes Ray Ferraro look like Elon Musk in terms of his technical know-how. So I was like, on Twitter, I quote tweeted, I'm like, shots fired. And I put my phone down and I'm laughing to myself, and I walk away from my phone for like 20 minutes. I get back to my phone and it's just like, just glowing. I'm like, what's going on here? Well, spelling mistake on the word shots. Yeah, that's like, a simple mistake, but a bad one. Had to delete it and send the retraction tweet. So JL all over that. What a shot storm on Twitter today. Yeah, clever. My favorite one of those, though, I don't think he'll care if I say it. Derek Van Diest, a long time ago. Twitter was new. One of my favorite ones is he said he made the same mistake, but what he was trying to say is Ryan Smith jumps over the boards to take a quick shift, but he left out the God, did we have a laugh over that one, man? God. That was an all-timer from DVD. All right, enough nonsense. Let's get to the breakdown, brought to you by Mr. Dirk, the iconic men's clothing store. It's been around since 1939, which some of Strud's wardrobe also looks it's from that same vintage. If you haven't ever been, you got to check it out. Just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. They have a beautiful shop, and they have fantastic clothes in there. Casual clothes, suits, sport coats, whatever you need. If you're kind of feeling like your wardrobe needs a little kick, go see Sterling, Dan, and the amazing crew down at Mr. Dirk. Visit MrDirk.com. Okay, Struds, why don't we start with Jack Campbell? Because I think Oiler fan, of all the things that they were going to get a chance to look at tonight, probably most curious about what Jack Campbell was going to look like. And it's his first game, and it's exhibition, and all those caveats. But in his post-game comments, he made it clear this game was pretty meaningful to him as well. And we'll get to those comments in a minute. What did you make of Campbell, Struds?
I was surprised that Jay Woodcroft left him dangling this long into preseason. I think if I was the coach, I would have liked to get Jack Campbell in one of the first one of the first two games. And I know there's other goalies here, but you want to get this guy off on a good footing, just make him feel comfortable. So that's number one. Number two, I thought he looked very comfortable. I thought he looked, just a little bit more compact and not, just less movement and honestly, something we talked about last year. I thought he looked small last year. I thought he looked bigger this year, right? Like, I don't know if that's equipment based or his posture, could be a mixture of both, I suppose. But those are two things that I think are pretty important to look at when you're looking at his game. And he was good tonight. I thought he made some good saves. Obviously helped by the interference goal there. But I honestly, good solid start by Jack Campbell because we were all wondering the same thing.
I think we were all thinking the same thing at the end of the game too. So I'm not going to be negative Nelly here, but I do want to bring this up. I thought he was really good too. Made a really nice save early on in the game. One of his tougher saves of the night. Remember that one really early?
Yeah.
And I thought, that's good. Good for him. Played well through the game. There was the interference goal. Had this game ended on a 0.2 seconds left on the clock goal that he should have had, could this whole thing have kind of had taken on way more of a negative feel, even despite the fact that his night had gone as well as it had? I think that could have turned poorly for him and would have been an early hurdle for him, as opposed to what it is now, which is good game.
100%. And I think that it's funny how a small, 0.2 seconds in a goal in an exhibition game can maybe have that much effect on his kind of state of mind moving forward. So this comes out as a real positive thing now for him and his group. And I guess we're just talking about him, but it's a positive thing for him and something for him to build on the next game, right? And I think that I'd try to get back in that net pretty quickly. Obviously not next game, but pretty damn quickly, get him feeling good about himself. But all those things are accurate, and I think it's a start it starts in a good place for the year.
Let's get to the Weiss Johnson Soundbox here. Come visit their showroom. You got to go check it out. They've got all kinds of heating system and products on display. If you're in the market for a new heating system, go chat with the team to discuss what might be best for you. They sell furnace filters, humidifier pads, should you need them heading into winter. Until the end of January, no GST on all garage heater installs. Visit WeissJohnson.com.
Weiss Johnson, whoa. We're proud to be local.
Oh, the extended version of the Weiss Johnson jingle tonight. Here's Jack Campbell postgame being very honest about some of the nerves that he felt heading into this one.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I was a little nervous. I put a lot of work in this summer and wanted to do well, and just really excited to go out and have a good performance and just keep building on the things I've been working so hard on.
Dave J on the stream here, Struds, says, interesting, Struddy, putting him in with 2 to 3 NHL forwards against a rival. So interesting challenge from Woodcroft to give him this game where you're not sending a lot of your veterans and your core defensemen, and Calgary's going to probably play a pretty strong lineup. The fact that he chose that game to give him is interesting, and he admitted he was a little nervous ahead of time.
Yeah, really good insight there. And I guess when you go, and it seems like now teams only play their top players at home, right? No one's going on the road to play. And no disrespect to the guys who are in the Oilers lineup tonight, but they're not exactly the top players. But that's a really maybe part of he wanted Jack to start on the road. That idea of being on the road and maybe away from. I actually think the fans were pretty good to Jack last year. So I think that was maybe part of the thought. We're going to put him on the road, let him start on the road, and kind of get through it. And listen, this conversation would have happened between the goalie coach and Woodcroft for sure. What's the best place to start him to get him off on the right foot?
I wouldn't be handling him with kid gloves at all. Not at all. Not one bit. Things that happened last year, if you want this goaltender to leave it in the past, he can't sense at all that you're handling him thinking he might be. You got to treat this guy like he's coming in to challenge him for the Skinner for the starting job. And I would not give Jack Campbell any sense that you're making decisions based on where are you at and where's your confidence at. Let last year be last year. I like the fact that Woodcroft threw him into the deep end tonight in this game, came up with a good game. Almost had a tough finish, but came up with a good game. Okay, let's move on to other aspects of the game. There are spots on the line, but not just spots. There's playing time potentially on the line for guys too. And I would submit to you that through exhibition season, Struds, there is no Oiler who is doing more to push his case for not just a spot, but playing time than Dylan Holloway.
You nailed it. This guy, I thought his best game of the preseason, and now, it's pretty early, but I thought that he wasn't just having good moments in the game. He was, carrying play. He was really playing well and making plays happen and being, kind of like a guy that's carrying his own line. So give him a ton of credit. He played very, very well. Scored the goal. Nice shot there, kind of popped up high. on the power play. So lots of positive from Dylan Holloway. And he is making a case for himself to build towards more ice time than he got last year. But remember this, when you go back and look at Dylan Holloway, it's usually his second year in the league where he kind of pops as a player. So this is his second year in the league.
And Jay Woodcroft has mentioned that before. When asked about his ice time last year, that's something he'll point to. Right. That maybe you just needed to ride him through the first year because his history is he might not have the best first year, but you can depend on him the next year. And that was a train of thought as to why they handled him, why they did, in fairness to Woodcroft last year.
Yeah, and he wasn't ready. He didn't look like he was ready last year. But tonight, when you look at that lineup, you look at the guys.
Was that a yawn or a burp that you just suppressed?
It was kind of like it was a bit of a half burp. I just drank a lot of water. Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
no, I'm not.
I had to ask. I'm
not I'm fired up for this one tonight. I'm ready to go. Not that I'm not always fired up, but I'm ready to go. But when you look at it, you look at him. He was playing against some really good players, and he was having an impact against those good players. He wasn't just kind of beating up on the again, with all due respect to the Oilers lineup tonight, it wasn't like someone beating up on the Oilers lineup tonight. They had some guys that were going to be quite a few will be either watching or in the American Hockey League. So very, very positive for Dylan Holloway. And today I saw the player that I think he can be, and there's still room to grow.
Megabird chimes in and says, and I don't have these analytics, so we'll take his word for it. Holloway's line had 5 more D-zone starts than any other line tonight. So the head coach may be testing him a little bit to see about dependability in his own end. I agree. They played really well. He skated really fast. This is the way I expect Dylan Holloway to look, though. He's an energetic player who's fast, who understands that he's in a competition for ice time, who understands the opportunity in front of him. I expect Dylan Holloway to come out and stand out in games in exhibition season because he should be. It's like he's at regular season pace when the rest of the world seems to be at exhibition pace. And I guess the question I would ask is, why aren't more guys that are fighting for their NHL lives right now showing a similar level of get up and go? There are guys in the middle of fist fights for potential spots on an NHL roster who kind of feel sleepy to me, Struds.
Yeah, so let's go through it. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about?
I'd say Lavoie had a sleepier night. Not bad, but doesn't skate around out there like a guy who realizes your NHL life is on the line here, man. You're only going to get so many of these games, and you gotta go.
Yeah, to be fair, his line was productive, and he was on that line, right? So I think we have to be careful. Like his game is different. He won't show the same way as Dylan Holloway, right? He's not going to show that same way. A couple times I thought he was kind of challenged a little bit in his D zone to be in the right place. One time actually resulted in Noah Hannafin just walking right down Broadway with a shot. So like that's a moment that is, you can be responsible for that positioning and do a good job there, right? You don't need to be all over. But he was on a line that I thought, had some really good moments. So of the games that I've seen him play, or I guess the games that he's played in, I thought that was his stronger game today, but I think there's another level for him to get to. The problem is we're running out of track here, right? That's
kind of my point, right?
Yeah.
Like what are guys doing to stand out? What are you doing? Like, are you showing a level of desperation that you recognize the moment? And I guess maybe my expectations are too high. I don't know. I'm looking for that from guys.
Yeah. I wish we would have seen him in the NHL last year. I really do. And I've said that previously in the podcast. Like, I can't tell you, when I this is a few years ago, but when I was my first year pro, I played 2 games in the NHL. It helped me so much because I knew I could play in the NHL. I'm like, I can do this. There's things I have to work on. And I didn't get back to the NHL for another, it was almost 2 years. But when I got back, I knew I could play there. And I was a better version than I was 2 years previous, right? So that makes a difference. And I know that it's not easy to do that when you're a team trying to win a Stanley Cup, but man, I would like to see him in that lineup, even just for one game last year.
Thought Warren Foegele was good tonight too. One of the Oilers' better forwards, lots of energy, had some chances. I thought he looked good. Xavier Bourgault is another player that I don't think so much realistically scrapping for a spot on this year's team, but certainly for positioning in terms of being a guy that's top of the list to be called up. You got Peterson as well, who had some tough moments, but then he had some okay moments too. He's a guy I would point to and just say, it's right there for you. It's right there. You lose 2 draws on the power play and turn the puck over in a 1-goal game. I know that's not his game, but still, like, you have these moments, these opportunities to have some of these moments, and you want to see guys grab them.
So I'll comment on Peterson first. I'm not quite as bullish as others are about him making the team. I just don't see how he fits in, like what he's, what his role is, especially now that I've seen Sutter play. I think Sutter, I can see where he fits in and what he's going to do. Bigger, wins face-offs. Like I think that it's already, I think his time is running short here with the Oilers. Sorry, at least with the NHL team for now. Xavier Bourgault, there's obviously some skill there and he makes plays. I'd like to see him get a little bit more engaged at times. But it's kind of he's just trying to figure it out too. He's a young player. I'd like to see him get one more game against with a more robust Oilers lineup. But I'm not sure if that'll happen for me either. I think that we're looking at when they play tomorrow night. They play tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And then I would think that there'd be some changes Sunday.
Remember the days when these young skilled players would get looks with some of the NHL skilled guys to see what they could make happen?
Yeah.
We're not seeing that at all, Jay. And maybe we still will. But my point here is Jay Woodcroft has his lines assembled early, like back as far as the captain skates right into training camp, and he's wanting to roll those lines out. I think they are uber focused on making sure they start well this year, and I think it's affecting some of these training camp lineup decisions.
And it's harder for young players, right? That's like Xavier Bourgault has played with talented players. He's a talented player. So, and I've made this case before that if you get down to less preseason games, you have less chance for a young player to first play against NHL players and two, show what he can do. But what Jay's doing is he's just like, we're worrying about the regular season and this long. I'm not worried about the 10th forward in the organization.
Any more honorable mentions or anything else that stood out before we move on to our next segment?
No, I think those are the guys that, I got Marcus Niemelainen. I think he's skating better. Not that he was bad skater. I think he's getting around pretty well. The D-man, who's getting a little chatter in and around the media group. We've just sort of been chatting a little bit and just wondering where he fits in. And you could tell Jack and Bob on the broadcast tonight were talking about him too. But Phil Kemp is acquitting himself quite well. And as they pointed out on the broadcast tonight, given the way that he's a right shot, not far down the list. Phil Kemp is probably going to get some games at some point this year. Yeah. So Broberg and Darren Ayer are 6'7" defensemen. Who's the next guy called up? Is it Kemp?
Niemelainen or Kemp, one of the two, depending on which side a guy you need.
Yeah.
And by the way, probably a podcast for a different night. But is there a discussion to be had about Philip Broberg trying to get a toehold in the National Hockey League? Just trying to show that he can be here and handle the day-to-day and be effective playing his offside. I don't like it at all.
Well, the bonus is you get to play that Ekholm, so I think that helps. He has played it. Listen,
how long, Struddy? For how long? If you're not operating it, like what percentage do you lose by being on your wrong side? Every D-to-D pass.
Yeah.
Think about that. Every D-to-D pass.
I hear you.
You're either taking it behind you or you're taking it on your backhand.
But to be honest, buddy, I think it's easier to defend on your offside because the guy, if you're playing on your right side as a left defenseman, usually it's a left shot guy coming down. His stick is on the wall. Your stick's on the same side. Boop. You just pop it and grab the guy by the chest and throw him on the wall. I liked accepting rushes on my offside more than I did on my strong side.
But how was it for breakouts?
Well, the nice thing is if you get the puck in the corner, you're now coming around the net, you're on your forehand, right? When you're on your offside, you're going back, you're on your backhand.
Yeah.
The challenge is what you just spoke about. It's anything D-to-D, you're catching it on your forehand, or you catch it on your backhand and you got to make the play. But there are some advantages to it. It's not like it's all bad. There are some advantages to that, especially the guy like Broberg can skate. You go back and pick that puck up in your corner. You're now coming around the net with speed on your forehand, and everything's available to you.
Bitumen says easier to score on your offside as well, to your point, when you get into the offensive zone. We'll do that on a different podcast on a different night. Yeah. That was The Breakdown, brought to you by Mr. Dirk. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Had a chat with him today, and an interesting answer from him in areas that he's looking to improve his game. Struddy's World, Ask Us Anything, Gem of the Day, lots of good stuff still remaining on the live stream. Very short break. We're going to be right back.
Are you ready to elevate your moving experience? Trusted for over 100 years, Ferguson Moving and Storage are your partners in relocation, ensuring your journey is smooth and stress-free. And say goodbye to surprises with Ferguson's transparent flat rate pricing. Contact them now for a free moving quote and use a promo code Ferguson to receive $100 off your next move. Visit FergusonMoving.com and let them lift your expectations. If you own or operate a business, you know the value of a great employee. Just ask Schauger. Pathfind is here to help you find your next star player to help take your business to the next level. Pathfind can help with recruitment, career transition, leadership coaching. They truly have your whole team covered. Building you a championship caliber roster. Find your team's path forward at pathfind.ca.
Nice job on the ad, Zuby. Ding. Just
So
ask
good.
Schauger. Yeah, an all-star employee, hey? You're not the best employee on the podcast this year anymore, FYI.
Who is?
Rob
Not
Brown
the
is
guy-
pulled ahead of you. Rob
He
Brown
doesn't
is
know.
pulled ahead of you.
He
No,
doesn't even know how to run a machine. He doesn't know what's going on.
he doesn't need to know how to run the machine because he shows up 10 minutes early and we have time to work through any technical issues. So he's ahead of you just from a tardiness standpoint.
Not even on the same podium.
Time now for takeaways, brought to you by Redefined Health. They specialize in total body and mind wellness, and who doesn't need that? From chiropractic and massage care treatments to acupuncture, soft tissue therapy, nutrition. How about even an on-site registered psychologist? They're there to help you get well and stay healthy for a lifetime. Check out redefinedhealth.com and Dr. Tyler Fix. Best name in the game. In our takeaway segment tonight, we're going to deal a little bit with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I had an opportunity to chat with him today in long form, and you can catch that entire interview. It was about 7 minutes long over on tsn.ca, where it is posted. But there was one thing he talked about, Struds, that kind of stood out to me a little bit, just in an area of game that he wants to work on, but also the idea that he wants to be a driver, right? There are support players, and then there are drivers. Listen to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins here as we get back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox.
Where I want to keep building is getting better when I do get thrown in a center. I want to be able to not only be good defensively on the defensive side of things, but still be able to help out offensively and drive a line. So that's always a focus, and I'm definitely thinking about that this year.
And drive a line. He had 100 points. Over 100 points. You would assume a guy that pushes that kind of offense would just be assumed he's a driver and can drive a line. But I think lots of people look at the power play point totals. Lots of people look at the time with McDavid and Draisaitl. I guess I put the question to you, Struds. Over 100 points last season, do you view Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as a player that can drive his own line offensively?
First off, I don't like the term drive your own line. I like the idea of you carry your own line, right? You can carry your own line. And I think that's the way, but I know driver is what everyone's talking about.
Okay, hang on. Let's get into that little idiosyncrasy. Mm-hmm. Carry a line implies like the other guys aren't doing anything and you got to drag them along because they're doing nothing.
Well, it implies that you can, and so that my second point is that when you're carrying a line, you're facilitating the game for your line mates. Is what I'm saying. You know, like you don't, you put someone that can really help those other guys raise their game.
I'm not sure. If I come up to you after a game and I'm like, Struds, I really had to carry you tonight. I'm kicking you in the pills. If I walk up to you and say, hey, I facilitated your game tonight.
Like, fair point.
Anyway, whatever. This is we got off topic here.
It is. You did. You got us off topic.
Yeah,
but
I couldn't let that go.
Is that it is interesting when you think about a guy who's 100 points and we're wondering if he can drive or carry his own line. Like it is crazy. But I guess if I love that response from Nugent-Hopkins, because I think
he's thinking about it, right?
Yeah. Because there are going to be times where he'll be at center when they decide to load up the two big guys together. So can he make the game easier for his line mates, both offensively and defensively? And I think when you play with Leon O'Connor, the game offensively becomes easier for you because they're putting in positions to score. So can Nugent-Hopkins do that for his line mates? I think he helps them. You know, I'm not, it obviously doesn't do it to that level, but there are very few players that do that. But I think he can also create offense for those guys by being, make sure that if they're cheating a bit, maybe he's a little bit more aware defensively. So I think there's two sides of that coin.
I mean, you think about when they go the three-headed monster and he's the third line center. Generally speaking, you end up with bottom six players on your wings, right? That's just the way it goes. And what can he do for those guys offensively? Can he help elevate their games? Do players who get to play with Nugent-Hopkins push better totals than they might otherwise? I believe he has the ability to do it when he's really engaged. He can be an impactful player. He just hasn't had to for a long time. His contributions have been a little more like, I don't even know what the right word is. I mean, elegant is a way that I would use to sort of describe his game at times, where he's in the right places and he compliments the players that he's playing with. He lets them be brilliant, but he's playing with brilliant players, as opposed to being the guy that just leaves no doubt and pulls everybody into the fight with him. He hasn't had to be that guy, but I do think he has the ability.
I think it's subtle. I think I think.
Oh, this is nuance, buddy. We're really digging around through the nuance here.
Yeah. I think he's subtle. He's a subtle. His game is very subtle, but very good. And not subtle is not the right, but the way he uses his skill, it's very subtle, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say he has an absolute bomb. He's fast. He's got good stick handling, but he's not like elite, like crazy elite in any one of those things, but he's really good at all of them. He's good at making his line mates, kind of making the game easier for him. He can kill penalties. He's on the power plays, 5-on-5. He plays with really good players really well. Like, he does all those things. So, you think of when Taylor Hall was here, it's just a complete bull, or Jordan Eberle, stick handling around people. Like, everyone, what is his thing? Like, what if you said this is his thing? I think he's just a very smart, subtle player that can really help you out in so many different situations. I think that Jay Woodcroft's he's like the Swiss Army knife of our forwards, and he is. He most definitely is.
His contribution on the power play, I've wanted to run this number for a while, but whatever, it would take Sport Logic or people that have faster computers than I do. But of the Oilers' power play goals, how many of them at some point in the 5 seconds previous to the goal, whether he picked up an assist or not, flowed through Nugent-Hopkins? Everything flows through him over on that left side. It always does. He's that first main setup touch to then figure out where's it going next. He's critical there. He's one of their most often used penalty killers. He can play center. He can play the wing. He is very good at almost everything except faceoffs, and excellent at a bunch of stuff, but driving. So next question for me is this. So we had to fill out our top 50 for TSN, right? We release that list every year. And here's my question to people on the stream and to you, Struds. And it's a tough exercise. You got to take time to go through it, but I'll just bomb this out at you. Should Ryan Nugent-Hopkins be on a list of the top 50 players in the game for this upcoming season? I mean, he had 104 points or whatever it was.
Boy, that's a hard one. I really like him, but there's 32 teams. If each team has, one
two on the
list,
or
three really good, like, is he in that? I'd have a tough. I'm gonna have to say no. I would say no. I'm just trying to think quickly in my head, like D, goalies.
Yeah. And I'm putting you on the spot. It's a difficult question because bottom line, if he were number 53, 54, 55, like the answer could be yes, because by that point it's so subjective, right?
Yeah. He's in that conversation, but I'll say this. 3-4 years ago, I didn't think we'd be even having that conversation, right? That he would get to that level. So I love how he's evolved and continued to evolve as a player, and maybe grow as a player is a better word than evolve.
9th in the league in points last season. 9th in points. And we're sitting here, and I guess this is my point. It's a discussion about whether he should be in the top 50 or not. And he's in my top 50, by the way. In fact, I can't remember exactly where he's at. He's in my top 40.
So let's say he does it again. Let's say he gets 96 points next year. Then I think it's a different one. But that was such a jump of points, such an increase of points. Can we believe he's going to do it again?
Top 30 in goals too, by the way.
Yeah. No, fair point. And
this would be my argument to what you're saying. Not an argument. If he did it again and had 100 points again, now we're talking about him being on a list of the top 25 players in the league.
Yeah,
like multi-100 point seasons,
sure.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's interesting. Like, so to your point about if it's the top 2 players on every team, give or take, right? Well, what about Nylander, right? Nylander generally lands in and around close to these lists or on them. He's the 3rd best player in Toronto, some would argue. People would look at his 40 goals and go, well, he's going to be there. Yeah. Like that, of course.
Yeah. Fair
well, Nugent-Hopkins had 104 points.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Now, I'd have to go back in Nylander, where his point total is a little bit more robust.
Yeah,
in the last couple of years than Nugent-Hopkins, and maybe it's unfair to just judge off, say, well, he only had 1 year of it. But if it's the 1 year that's his high water mark and he comes back to 75, where does that put him next year?
For sure. And part of the criteria is not who are the top 50 players in the league last year, who are going to be the top 50 players in the league this year. Like who's it going to be, right? And that, by the way, that list starts being released on all TSN platforms, I believe, next week. Okay. So that'll be fun and some fodder for discussion. My instinct is, and this is just my instinct, there is zero debate. It's going to be McDavid and Draisaitl 1 and 2. I think this is the year where that's just what it's going to be. And there's not going to be, I don't know that there'll be much question about it. That's my gut. And that, I'll probably get in trouble for giving it. Quizmaster's going to be annoyed at me, but I mean, that's what I had was 1 and 2.
Yeah. It'd be hard to debate that. You look around the league at other people, Pasternak's probably in that up amongst that group, healthy Cale Makar's up there in that group.
Yeah, McKinnon's there, right? Matthews in and around that top 5. Yeah, Makar, who you said, yeah.
Those guys.
Who else is up in and around that conversation?
Who's that?
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, I mean,
right up there now, man. He wasn't necessarily before. He's right up there now. So when you do it again, to your point, right? Because he'd done it the one time, and it was like, oh, I did it again. And now I bet he's gonna be really high up that list.
And a very unique player.
Yeah.
Of all those players you mentioned, he brings something that none of them have, which is just a complete irritation of other teammates or other teams, right?
Bitumen bringing more numbers for the power play goals scored, while RMH, he said, typo. That's okay. We all understand typos. They happen to even really intelligent, super smart, funny, handsome guys. That happens to. For the power play goals scored while RMH was on the ice, he had a point on 60.92% of them. My point on that was I bet it flowed through him, whether he got a point or not, on a much higher percentage of it. That'll be fun. We'll debate that list when it comes out a little bit later on all of TSN's platforms. That was Takeaways brought to you by Redefined Health. Very quick break. And then it was, what was it? Toilet paper and peanut butter, or what the hell, Struddy's
Let's take this seriously. Please start taking my segment seriously. Peanut butter, drive-thrus, and bagels, and the relationship between the three.
Okay. Good night, everybody. For the rest of you, we'll see you. We'll see you right after a very short break. For Struddy's World, ask us anything and Gem of the Day. Long Shots Golf is the destination for both golf enthusiasts and sports fans. Top-of-the-line TrackMan simulators provide a highly entertaining and accurate golf experience, while a full-service sports bar loaded with big screens and scratch kitchen make it a truly unique destination. They have locations in Sherwood Park and Edmonton. Experience the best indoor golf and sports bar in town. Visit longshots.ca. That's longshots with a Z.ca.
When you make a mistake, heads should roll. Just me and Nick Lachey, window down, shirt off, just loving it. My goal is someday maybe be Forrest Gump. Now that I say it out loud, it does sound a little crazy.
All right, Struddy's World, brought to you by DLR Vinyl, Decking and Fencing, with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. There was a little DLR summit in Edmonton here the other day. The brothers were in town. We all got together. Big things happening at DLR over the next couple of years. They're just pounding out that maintenance-free fencing and decking, building that business, and it's fantastic stuff. I have it in my backyard. It's amazing. No sanding, no staining, no painting. Struds, we'll pound it into the Strudwick backyard here at some point too. Hey, check them out. DLRvinylproducts.ca. Get some maintenance-free product you do not have to worry about anymore. Struddy?
I don't have a lot of bagels in the summer. Bagels for me are a wintertime meal. So, recently, and I know it's not winter, but it is cooling down. So I went to a drive-through, a coffee shop, and I asked for a bagel, a multigrain with peanut butter. And so I go through it, I get it, I come out the other side. Can't wait to sink my teeth into this beautiful bagel covered with peanut butter. And they didn't put it on it, right? So there was no the container of peanut butter was there with a knife and the bagel. Bagel was sliced. So I'm like, what's going on? So I obviously I had to do it myself. A couple days later, I go through it again, same place. I'm like, hey, can I get the bagel, peanut butter? And I guess, can you apply it to the bagel? And they're like, we're not able to do that. I said, well, why not? I said, you used to do it. She's like, I know, but now we're no longer able to do it. Well, then why am I going through a drive-through? I can do my own bagel at home. I can do that same thing. I can heat it up. I can put it through. I want the peanut butter. So Slade and I got into not a heated debate, but we got into a conversation about it. She's like, we're just not allowed to do it. But I said, that's the job. That's what's going through there. I'm not asking to build a doghouse with a bunch of fencing posts. I'm looking for you to slice the bagel, put my peanut butter on it so I can enjoy it as I'm driving off from dropping my kids off at school. I don't get what's going on. I'm not sure if others have had this frustration the same, but it makes no sense. It'd be like if they said, I'll take a coffee with milk, but instead they just give you the coffee and a little glass of milk and you have to pour your own milk or cream or whatever it is into it, or the sugar. It doesn't make sense. I want it all done. You can do it. Those other things there, manage the bagel, treat it right so I can come in, because a warm bagel with warm peanut butter, guys, oh my God, absolutely beautiful.
So clarification required here. Several people, including Davin on the stream, are asking for clarification here. Zuby, you got to hop in on this nonsense. Was the bagel toasted?
Oh, it's toasted. Yeah.
Okay, so bagel is toasted. Here's my immediate thought. If you take a freshly toasted bagel and you apply peanut butter to it, and then you put that together and wrap it up and hand it out, it's going to be a melted, disgusting mess. By the time you unwrap that, they don't know if you're about to eat it right that second. The only time to eat a bagel with peanut butter is immediately after you've applied that peanut butter, or it's a dripping, soggy mess. Subi, am I wrong? I think they're doing the right thing for the continuity and the integrity of the dish.
You're not wrong about that part, but I still have more questions. Is it an allergy concern? Is that like them getting it on? Because would they butter a bagel for you or cream cheese? This particular establishment? Do you know that?
Oh, would they do cream cheese?
I don't ask for the.
Ask her. When you go through, ask her. Just say, out of interest, would you do it?
Do you do it?
So I get it, but if you have any concerns, why don't you just tell the guy who wants the peanut butter? Because I know I like when the peanut butter gets runny. I like it because it's nice and warm. It's all warmed up. But so why not just say, hey, no, we're afraid we have someone who has a peanut allergy, or whatever. But don't just say nothing. Just let me have the warm bagel.
JL on the stream, we're getting all bitchy about our drive-through service. JL's like, they also used to give you a bag and now they don't.
Yeah. It's
the degradation of our drive-through service. This is a travesty. First, they won't peanut butter our bagels, and then no bags, like paper straws. What's next?
I do still believe that the customer is never wrong, right? So if I ask for my bagel to be peanut butter, just do it. I don't understand why this is such a big deal. And I've actually been to 2 different local establishments. I don't want to drop names, but I will say this. I was in New York this summer, and I went to this deli across the street every day. I guess I'm name dropping right now. And they got the bagel right every time. It was so glorious and warm. And like you said, peanut butter dropping off. I was in heaven. And then I come back and I got to suffer through this I got to get my finger in there. I'm trying to put the peanut butter on them while I'm driving around. Just crazy. Outrageous.
Was that Bagels on the Square in New York, by the way? You name dropped New York, but you didn't name drop the New York establishment. Was it? I
think it was like a New York deli. I forget. Honestly, I forget the name. Huh. There's delis everywhere.
There's a couple. Yeah.
Struds, you got to pull over, bud, to put the peanut butter on the bagel. You can't be driving around trying to do that. Kids in the car. You'd be a menace out there.
Their kids are doing it. The kids are doing it.
Oh man.
If anyone else is having the same challenge, I'd love to know why. And I'd love to know why no one is No one.
Well,
am I
no one's protesting.
Rights?
There's very little uprising. You might be on a bit of an island here, bud. I'm not sure. Zuby's keeping an eye on the stream. This will transition really. That was Struddy's World, by the way. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Because Brownie isn't here tonight, guess what, Struds? Your appearance on the podcast is brought to you by Kin Print tonight. High quality apparel, promotional products to take your brand to the next level. Visit kinprint.ca, and they, of course, power this live stream of ours as well. Transitions right.
Shirt. Do you think they make a shirt that says peanut butter my bagel? That's a shirt I should get. Kin Print, or a hat. Just put that on my hat.
Peanut butter my bagel.
Peanut butter my bagel. Buddy.
I think we could have
there's another word. Yeah, there's one more word that needs to go on the end of that.
I don't want to say it. Yeah, that's not going to get my bagel peanut butter.
No, it's going to get you something if you wear a shirt around like that. All right, let's roll into the stream. Brought to you by Renee Buclan, Shark of the Park. We got Dr. Tyler Fix, and we got the Shark of the Park. We have some of the best handles in the podcast world. Serving Sherwood Park with Maxwell Devonshire Realty. Let Renee help you navigate the biggest investment of your life, your home. She works with just a select number of clients so that she has the time to devote to you, to find that perfect place to call home. Rated the top individual agent in 22-23 and dozens of 5-star reviews. If you're thinking of buying, selling, or want your home evaluated, give her a call, 780-994-0280. We need like a sound effect of like the shark. Although sharks, I guess there's no noise, right?
Yeah.
Noise. Yeah, maybe you could do that. Dun, 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 dun.
I could find that.
You want to? Maybe for next time?
Yes, for next time, absolutely, for sure.
Let's get the Jaws music for Shark of the Park. Zuby, start with any response that we got to Struddy's World. What are people saying and feeling about the bagel discussion?
Well, I got a quick one because I got to say, Obelisk 21, he says in Ontario, eating while driving is considered distracted driving. And I have to say this, I saw it in Vancouver one time. I was on 4th Avenue and I looked over and the person in the car next to me was eating a piece of lasagna while driving, on a plate with like a fork. And I was like, that's bananas. That is crazy.
I had one the other night. I actually forgot to mention it on the podcast the other night, a couple of nights ago on my way home so I'm driving home from the rink and there's this vehicle in front of me and it over on the left lane, and it's kind of like just a little bit like this. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Like I know what's going on. So I pull up. It's a 3 lanes on baseline so I pull into the right lane and I take a look, guys. So 2 hands on the cell phone like this, no hands on the wheel. So this is what hang on, I just pulled out my earpiece. This is what I see when I pull up. Sorry for people who are only listening to this. I see this. Someone on the street just like this. And the steering, no hands on the steering wheel at all, right? Really irresponsible, really crazy. You know what the most insane thing was? She was probably 65.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like this wasn't a 20, 22, 24. This was a grandparent that was texting and driving. I was stunned.
Did you recognize her? Like, did you guys go to high school together?
Oh, yeah. Well, you're calling me old. You're calling me old. Goodness. How many years did it take you to get through high school, Struds?
Oh, no. I was good. I graduated with honors, but I don't know. I can find the transcript, whatever you guys.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we're too sidetracked here. How did we get into distracted driving? What segment are we doing? Shark of the Park.
It's Shark of the Park.
Chris, go.
I'm going to bring it back to we'll bounce around, but I'm going to bring it back to some hockey. Couple people, some stranger, Mookie Wilson, saying they like the way Ceci played. They like the way Ceci pinched. And then there was another note I've got here somewhere about, do you guys foresee a situation where Ceci ends up being the one with Ekholm if they're trying to push this new Nurse Bouchard as the top pairing?
Well, I think that depends on Broberg, right? I mean, obviously it feels like they're trying to find another fourth, right? So who is it going to be? And there's going to be people to try out for it. Broberg, I think maybe Ceci's another good example. But I think they're trying to upgrade that spot. So can Ceci bounce back to year one? Yeah, maybe he could. But it feels like when he's on that third pairing, it makes it quite solid. They have to figure out who fits in there. So Schauger, I still think the guy who's going to play in that spot beside Ekholm is probably on another one of the 31 teams right now.
I'm going to give a more direct answer than you just did. No is the answer I'm going to give. If Philip Broberg doesn't work next to Matthias Ekholm, Evan Bouchard's there. He'll go right back there. The reason this is happening is because they want to create the opportunity for Philip Broberg to try and get a foothold. And his best chance of doing that is with Matthias Ekholm. If Broberg doesn't get that toehold and it's not working, Ekholm and Bouchard together all day long.
Okay, Josh Vanderswag, I want to get this one. He asked it twice. He really wanted to make sure this got asked. This is a question for you, Ryan. Two-part question. Is there an interview you've done in your career that stands out as a favorite? And second part, is there a person you wish you could interview, past or present player?
An interview that stands out as my favorite. I was on the ice after Sid scored the golden goal. I was working on that game broadcast at the 2010 Olympics. So that was a pretty amazing moment. I'd interviewed Sid a bunch of times before, but to be out there right after that goal had been scored, although I was a little hard on him. 2 of the 3 questions that I asked were kind of fastballs. And but JJ, the PR guy, I was about to say, Sid, you just scored one of the biggest goals in hockey history. Just what are you experiencing right now? I was about to ask that, but JJ was in behind. He's like, wrap it up. He's giving me this, wrap it up. But I had asked him to tell me about the goal, which was a softball. Then I was like, you hadn't produced a ton so far, Sid. Like, had this not been you, people might how do you think you've played? Yeah. I just, and then I asked him about, you guys blew a lead. What was it like sitting in the room waiting for overtime after blowing a lead? So 2 of the 3 were feisty. Right. So I kind of have a bit of regret that I didn't just plow through and ask that final 4th question. Yeah. So Sidney Crosby, and in terms of other people that I would love to interview, I've been really fortunate that I've been able to interview a lot of the premier people in all of hockey. So nothing comes to mind. Let me think about that one, and if it comes to mind, I'll let you know.
Okay, you're invited to a birthday party. The invitation says, please no gifts. Do you still bring a gift, and is it different if it's a child's birthday party?
Yeah, my wife is really good about it.
Gifts for a child's birthday party. Yeah. There's
money now.
We had one recently. No gifts, please.
You said no gifts?
No, we didn't. We were invited to a child's birthday party that said no gifts.
Why don't they want their children to open gifts on the birthday?
They're doing okay, but I don't.
The one thing I
did bring a gift. We did bring a gift anyway. That's what I'm asking.
Go ahead, Struds.
Well, I've seen it before. They say no gift, just bring a donation, and we're going to give the money to whatever kids sport or something, right?
So, okay, just hang on. How old is the kid? Are we talking a 17-year-old are we talking like a 4-year-old that's 4. Like, I want Teletubbies and I want presents so this is their birthday and you're like, guess what, Timmy? You're not going to get to open any presents today. We're donating all of the money to charity. Noble, right? Noble. But the 4-year-old just be like, huh? Like, I feel like that's a flag.
I'm fine with it because they don't know. They don't need 10 gifts to open when they're 4 years old. They play with the thing that's in front of them, right?
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
I'm nuts.
Yeah, I'm not about it.
All right.
Okay,
so Nick. I like how you're making up questions that you want to know the answer to.
Yeah, these are, and that's a Curb Your Enthusiasm thing too. So that's Strud. I'll work some Seinfeld stuff in future episodes as well. Okay, back to hockey. Nick G wants to know, what did you guys think of Connor Bedard's first preseason game? Were you able to catch any?
Just highlights, hey, for me, Struds, and that'll always show you the good stuff. No question, the kid is just talent all day long. Is it going to translate at regular season speed, intensity, size, and all of that? Probably, I think, Struds.
Yeah. Listen, when you stand out like that, even amongst a half NHL team, the guy, you're good. Like you're standing out, so that's a positive thing. But when you are the guy, it's going to be maybe a little bit trickier. But I think he's going to be a special player, which is probably not that unique from others.
Josh Vanderswag is saying. What's Josh saying? He's saying, or they play with the box and not the toy.
Yeah, I agree. They don't even know. They don't have no idea.
No, that's if you're 2. That's like, I can understand if it's like, look, we've got a 2-year-old that can't even But if you have a 4 or a 5 or a 6-year-old kid and it's their birthday and they get to open presents and you just say, no, we're not, just don't bring them anything.
But let me interject on that again. My daughter, who turned 6 in June, wanted to invite her whole class to the birthday party, which we did. And then seems like excessive. Because then it's, what was 17 other kids? I think 14 showed up or something. Then that's like, that feels, we didn't say no gifts, but we talked about it because we're like, well, that feels excessive. That's too much stuff. The kid doesn't need that much stuff. So I understand that's
different, because there's a whole nother segment now to be done on you letting your kid invite their entire. We're not going to get into that now too. We're too many rungs off the rail here, Struddy.
Zuby want to show off his basement.
Oh, it's so nice, Struds. We're going to get you down here. I'll pour you a whiskey sour.
Do we got more? Or is it time to get to the gem of the day? You got more?
No, I got a couple more I'd like to get to.
You got the gem of the day today. Okay, go.
Obelisk again, 21. Do you think Niemelainen or Lavoie get traded if they don't make the team? Or if not, who's kind of that bubble person who maybe other teams come asking about if they don't make this team?
Broberg. Sorry to just throw that out there, but I mean, if he's in the American League and not in the NHL team, teams are going to sense opportunity. They probably already do ask about him, but
I think Niemelainen, you kind of know what he is. Rafi Lavoie has never played in the NHL, and I know that I keep saying that, but it just makes it hard. I have a hard time envisioning what he's going to be. You know, he doesn't play with a ton of tempo in his game. And I think what the Oilers need right now is tempo in their bottom 6. So is he going to go, like, is another team going to pick him up? I know a lot of people think he might, maybe, I guess. I don't know that it's that much of a risk. What's your sense, Shaug? Is it a big risk if he goes on waivers?
He had a really good finish into his American League season. He's big. He moves pretty well. Put up some numbers. There's a chance I think someone could grab him. I think I would say it's 50-50 or better that he gets claimed. I would think. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading that. You know what? You really need to be in tune with everybody else's rosters too. And the Oilers would have done a deep dive on everybody's roster. They would know. They'd be able to give you 2 or 3 teams that they are most worried about where he could potentially go. You know, they would have a much better sense of the intricacy of it. But he's a good player, and I think he's still a pretty young player too. So there's some risk there. I'll answer with Xavier Bourgault actually. If Bourgault is probably going to be in the American League this year. If he plays really well and he pumps his value up, I could see him being one of the pieces that gets used to bring in Ekholm's partner at the deadline.
Okay, yes or no question, and there is a right answer, and I hope you guys are on board. Do you use cruise control when driving on the highway?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, who are all these people that I'm passing changing that their speed changes all this? Lots of people aren't. Don't you find that when you're out there driving on the highway?
Is this another something's bugging Zuby and you're absconding or ask us anything segment?
I'm taking it over
Do we want to just start calling this Zuby's Wondering? Zuby's Wondering.
I'm just keeping a list. I do have like my Struddy's World list. Filtering these in there.
And nobody will know. Yes, Chris. I think most people use cruise control when they're on the highway, and I don't know what the deal is with those people.
I want to find the person that admits that's like, no, I don't need cruise control. I'm good.
Yeah.
They're out there. I'm passing them, and then they pass me back, even though my speed never changed. You know,
if it's more than a 35-minute drive, 40-minute drive, it's cruise control all day. Hey, Struds.
Yeah, and it depends on how busy the highway is. Like QE2, I never have it on cruise because it's so busy.
Yeah. That was a super messy segment. We were all over the map, but Zuby's feeling satisfied. We still have Gem of the Day, Zuby.
Oh, yeah.
Brought to you by United Cycle. I know, it's okay.
A thing for that.
No, I know, you always roll the music, but that's okay. United Cycle doesn't mind. They're the only segments on the podcast that has a music bed underneath it. They are your home for... the finish line into your team winning the championship. They help you experience more of these special moments. United Sport and Cycle, helping athletes of all levels reach their full potential. www.unitedsport.ca. Struddy, Gem of the Day, my man.
I'm going to go with RNH, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and his quote where he said, "I would like to be the driver of a line," and I love hearing that. And like, there's another guy, I don't think he gets the credit that maybe others have about how he continues to evolve his game, or how he's trying to continue to evolve his game. So that's my winner tonight.
Not very often we have the gem of the day at our fingertips. Here it is.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I was a little nervous.
That's Jack Campbell. Here's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
What I want to keep building is getting better when I do get thrown in a center. I want to be able to not only be good defensively on the defensive side of things, but still be able to help out offensively and drive a line. So that's always a focus, and I'm definitely thinking about that this year.
Zuby, you made a mess of the music. You've made a mess of the music. Now it's stopped. You started it and stopped it under the Nugent-Hopkins clip.
Correct. Yes.
This was not a smooth finish technically.
No, it was so clean up until that.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap it up. We went over an hour tonight. Damn it. Got to keep it under an hour. That's what all the analytics say. Thanks for joining us on the stream, Twitter and YouTube. Thank you for your downloads and your subscriptions. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors, and more podcasts set to go. Probably keep an eye on our feeds Sunday night. We're eyeballing. We love those Sunday night streams. So we had great action tonight. Lots of people, lots of contributions. We love you. Thank you. And we'll talk Sunday night. Cheers, everyone.